development, yes, then you can retroactively apply for R&D, but unfortunately not for training. For training, you have to secure your approval before you execute the training.
So Igor, just to further elaborate on Kyriel's point, someone can apply for a training and job grant and apply for it again after that's completed, if
Yes.
they hadn't applied previously.
Correct.
So you can apply for the same grant multiple times.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Any other questions before I explain some nuances of Canada Ontario Job Grant? Okay, so first of all, this program is only available for third-party training. The internal training, when you are training your body, is not eligible, unfortunately. It has to be a third party. On the positive side, the government doesn't dictate who should be the trainer. So it could be the college or university, or it could be any private Canadian company like Deborah's company, for example. So they are eligible trainer. Deborah is not a university professor, as far as I know. No? Aren't you? No? Okay. Too bad. But anyways, even though she's not a university professor, her company is eligible training provider because she has a Canadian corporation. Some types of trainings like health and safety are not eligible either. So for example, training the construction worker how not to kill oneself when he is climbing on the top of the high rise. So this is something that he has to know, he has to complete in order to perform his job. So those types of mandatory trainings are not eligible. And also for the software, it's a little bit weird requirement, but this is what it is. If you are buying a piece of software and you want to get the training from the vendor of that software, so that training will not qualify. So let's say you buy a Microsoft ERP system and you want Microsoft to train you. I know it doesn't make sense to most of you, but if Microsoft trains you, it won't be eligible. But if you hire ABC ERP Consulting Inc., this training will be eligible. I mean, it's a little bit weird, but this is what it is. The rules sometimes are not easy to understand, but you have to follow them. Yes.
Can I ask a question of the group? So we all know that there's been a lot of transition in CRM lately. So what software are you using right now for CRM, or you're looking to implement within CRM, which would be a software? Like Salesforce?
What if it's proprietary? What if it's
Well, the
proprietary
training-
technology?
Yeah, for the training it doesn't matter. It's your choice. So the government doesn't really dictate you which system to take.
So what if it's advanced development within the software that we all?
This part will not be covered. However, the training will be covered.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So just a couple of other nuances. Minimum cost of training must be $1,000. Minimum duration 2 weeks. Maximum duration 52 weeks. Please don't exceed the maximum duration of the project because the government hates to postpone the project and postpone the funding because they have the schedule of the payments and it's a headache for them to move you to the next fiscal year, so they don't really like it. Please be respectful. And now let me walk you through the flow of funding. So the way the flow of funding works in this particular program, Canada Ontario Job Grant, however, you will get to understand how in general the funds flow. And that schema that I'm going to show you applies to most of the programs that are available out there. So let's take an example. Let's say the training cost is $60,000. We have 10 trainees, and the amount of grant is $50,000. So it's 83% of $60,000, or 5 divided by 6. In this particular case, in case of Canada Ontario Job Grant, you get the first payment, which is 70% of $50,000, when you show the government that you paid to the vendor. And then the remainder, the rest, the 30% or $15,000, the government will put in so-called holdback, until your training is completed and until you demonstrated the government that training is fully accomplished. Okay? Make sense so far? Okay, so let's consider this infographics. There are two scenarios. So first of all, if you have a good cash flow position, maybe you want to pay your training vendor right away. So you pay them a lump sum, $60,000 to your training vendor. Following the approval, again, that's important, only after the approval, after you get the paperwork and sign the paperwork, not before. Then, let's say when the training starts, and typically 1 week after you demonstrated the proof of payment to the government, you get 50,000 from the government. So 35,000 from the government. So that first payment you get right away upon you showing that you've paid to the vendor. Then the remainder you only get after the training is completed and after you submitted final claims. Only then you get 15,000, and so your total contribution is 50,000 as expected. There's another scenario. Let's say you wanted to pay your vendor in equal installments. In our case, let's say this could be 3 installments of $20,000 each over the course of the training. Again, the government fortunately doesn't dictate how you should pay your vendor. It's up to you. But in this case, you will only get the entire $50,000 after your training is completed and after you've submitted all the claims and you've demonstrated that you've paid all of those 3 bills to your vendor. Yes?
What do they ask as proof for payment? So just an invoice and a copy of like a bank statement?
Excellent question. Invoice for sure. However, it's not a proof of payment to them. The proof of payment is either a credit card statement if you paid by credit card, or a copy of cancelled check if you paid by check. Or if you use, let's say, wire payment, then typically you have some sort of proof of wire transaction. Yes.
Actually, I'd like to add to that, because in recent examples with our government grants that I've had approved, and Tracy can attest to this as well, certain branches of the government don't actually require the credit card statement. So an invoice from myself is sufficient, so you don't need to show that credit card payment. So just showing that I've given you an invoice, that is sufficient to certain branches of government.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Any questions on the flow of funds? 3, 2, 1, sold. Actually, I should say 3 to 1 approved. Okay, so now let me quickly tell you about a couple of other programs that are available. They may not apply directly to you guys in the audience, but I encourage you to just take notice of those programs and make sure you spread the word and talk to your friends and colleagues and partners. The research and development, as I said, is a huge area of funding. And in fact, to get the grant for research and development, you don't need to be like a university lab full of equipment and bubbly chemicals. When we talk about research and development, we typically think this way, that it has to be something like very scientific. No, in fact, doesn't have to be. It could, but it also be something very practical, like developing new material, like say testing the new type of finishing, something like that. So it's something that has very practical application, yet involves scientific approach to the development of the technology. Lots of information technology folks also are eligible. Deborah mentioned software, and I believe you mentioned also custom development. So when the software company does custom development, they may also face some issues, that they have to apply certain scientific rules and tools to resolve those issues. So this type of work could qualify for research and development grant or tax credit. So this particular program is called Industrial Research Assistance Program. It's a very old one. It's probably over 20 years old. Very well established program. Typically provides 80% of the labor costs or 50% of the subcontractor's cost, up to a maximum of 50,000. However, that program is so you can apply multiple times for that program, as long as you keep good results and keep the government happy of your R&D results. I know there are some mortgage brokers and real estate agents in the room, so you may want to know that information. There's no government grant to buy real estate per se, but there are grants to do the construction. Especially those grants are available for industrial and commercial and technology sector outside Greater Toronto area. Fortunately, you have to go outside GTA to get those grants. Especially areas like Western, Eastern, and Northern Ontario outside GTA are eligible for those programs, and the government could provide between 15 and 50% of the construction cost. In a recent example, our client was approved for building the second plant. So it was a manufacturing client, and they were building the second plant, all the same size as the first one, in the Kitchener area. So this is the good example of the project that are eligible. So they have to buy land, and the government doesn't pay you to buy the land, but their construction costs and all the machinery and all the cranes that goes inside the building, they applied and they got approval for these costs. Okay? And of course, the farther you go, the more money there is. There's also money in Northern Ontario, because I guess it's quite far and it's a little bit challenging to find people there. So the government encourages people to go north and move businesses there. I know quite a lot of good breweries are up there. So that may be the reason. And pure water as well. Yes?
A little bit outside the box, perhaps
Sure.
a question, but would it apply for cannabis producers?
Great question. After October 17th.
So you would apply it?
Yes, that's right. So after that, we expect that all cannabis producers will become eligible for all sorts of government funding. And it's an interesting area actually, because they could qualify under many different streams, because if you grow cannabis, you are technically in agriculture, like you're technically a farm, but you're also like a life sciences establishment, and you also biotech. So there are different areas and different ways you can approach the funding for those types of facilities. By the way, I was a couple of years ago. I was on a tour of one of those facilities near Belleville. It's the most high-tech facility that I've ever seen, to be honest. Do we have company here? Okay, no. Okay. All right, let's stop talking about cannabis. More about hands-on things. Hiring grants. All hiring grants are available for you guys, but you have to keep in mind that you can only hire youth, young people under 30 years old. If you're hiring somebody over 30 years old, then unfortunately you cannot apply for hiring grants. Then it all depends on who exactly, actually not who, but what kind of people you wanted to hire. Do you want to hire, let's say, students? Do you want to hire graduates? Do you want to hire master or PhD level people? It will depend on your job requirements and also your industry. Through those three major programs are Canada Summer Jobs. You apply for Canada Summer Jobs in the winter time to secure your spots for some students to help you out in the summertime. If you didn't have time to apply in the winter time, there's always the Ontario Education Tax, Cooperative Education Tax Credit, and there's the whole suite of programs called Career Focus. That depends on the industry though, but there is lots of opportunities. For example, IT. Right, if you need someone, let's say, to do your search engine optimization, not that I'm saying that you need to hire a student, but let's say you need to do some tweaks on your website, maybe it takes just a few months. So you can apply and get the student to come in and do some tweaks on your website. Okay. And that concludes our present. Oh, please.
Well, just one quick, for hiring grants, does it have to be employees, or can they also be applied to contractors?
They have to be employees. Good question. Yeah. On the payroll, you have to pay their CPP. Yeah. That's the whole point. That you pay CPP. Yes.
The hiring grants are full right now, correct?
Most of them are, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a good question, by the way. There are certain cycles in some programs. Most of the hiring grants are replenished on April 1st of every year, and they run out of money about approximately this time. But there are still some. And in the winter time, there will be Canada Summer Jobs program. Okay. And to conclude this session, I want to show you my book called Get Funded. So there's more information about government funding and how you approach your needs and how you write your application. There are examples of good and bad answers. So if you are interested and want to learn more, please grab the books. So the books are on that counter somewhere. They may have put them into the bags. If not, they are in boxes right behind that counter. So when you go home, please grab a copy, and hopefully you'll get a good night's sleep after reading this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.